While steady Falcom localizations have become the norm, there was a considerable period when the notion of older titles seeing Western releases felt more fantastical than anything else. It was not until the gradual prominence of Trails of Cold Steel and the continued success of Ys that we reached a point where we almost caught up with the modern games. Still, there are plenty of overlooked cult classics that we haven't seen yet, including the 2010 PSP crossover fighting game Ys vs. Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga. Now, much to the surprise of all dedicated Falcom enthusiasts, a new version of the game has been announced for Western release. Additionally, unlike when The Legend of Naruto released in the West because a new version arrived in Japan, the original Ys vs. Trails in the Sky has been rebuilt for modern systems with enhancements by the publisher, Refint Games. Now, with the chance to play this still surprising revival ahead of its release, I had a genuine blast, despite the rough edges around the game itself, and the reality that this title will only appeal to a very specific group of prospective players. But let's get into all that in this review.
Stop right where you are, Adol!
Do the two of you know each other?
Do not let your guard down, Adol. I believe this warrior has also had her laws altered. I never imagined the day would come when we'd end up fighting each other. But my duty is to stop you, and I'll do what I must.
Ys vs. Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga is bountiful in its mode offerings, with the first being the likely strongest appeal for most of the potential player base. Story mode. Here you can start by selecting from 5 campaigns, each following the same plot outline with mostly identical structures. The game follows various Trails in the Sky and Ys characters who have been summoned to the land of Xanadu to save it from the baleful Dragon King Valles. However, after you choose a leader who can be Adol, Estelle, Geis, Chloe, and for whatever reason, Tita,
okay, here I come!
It is quickly discovered that the laws governing each other summoned character have been corroded. Consequently, they all serve Valles. Guided by the helpful monster Lappy, who knows quite a bit about the current going-ons, the central character for the chosen campaign leads the charge to free the corrupted heroes from Valles' control and then defeat the creature by the end. The story here will probably take 1 or 2 hours to play through, depending on your chosen difficulty level and whether your protagonist has already been upgraded outside of the story mode. The real draw is the numerous brief character exchanges you will come across. I should mention that they are incredibly short, primarily due to the sheer quantity of fighters who join the battle against Valles. Typically, scenes feature a select group conversing while others interject with one-liners. Given the scope, that collective novelty gets the job done, even if it's disappointing not to see grander conversations take place. Past your first story mode playthrough, the other routes can come across as busy work with scant variation. Alas, the chosen character representing the franchises are lacking. It's more accurate to call this title Ys 7 vs. Trails in the Sky because every playable Ys character is from that mainline release, save for one who's Chester from Velgana. Admittedly, the Ys games before 7 don't offer much to work with since they don't feature party systems, but even so, it would have been possible to add a decent number of picks to better represent Ys. A few examples that come to mind are Olha and Ernst from Ys 6, obscure choices from the original versions of Ys 4, and maybe the forsaken existence that is Ys 5. Even the Skycast here is pretty limited though, with Shortsword, Zin, Kevin, and others not present in playable capacities, which is a big real shame. Still, having Lo and Chester available as playable is a delightful inclusion. I only wish that the game leaned further into variety with more characters from other titles. Now, there are support characters who grant passive abilities as well, though their presence amounts to just cameos. When noting these exclusions and the highly budgeted nature of story mode, it's best to temper expectations going into this, especially if you are largely unfamiliar with the entries represented in this game. If you have not played the complete Trails in the Sky trilogy, Ys 7, Ys the Oath of Falcona, Ys 6, and to a lesser extent maybe even other Falcom titles, you will miss many callbacks and may even get spoiled on certain plot elements. Even so, for players deeply embedded in Falcom's history, it can be pretty fulfilling here. On a personal note, Ys vs. Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga feels somewhat surreal to me because I happen to check almost all of those boxes, likely more than the average fan. In particular, Ys 7 was my first Falcom game that I played, so seeing this title's party members interact with Sky's character is just a bizarre, almost dreamlike experience. Narrative aside, the gameplay systems here are taken directly from Ys 7 with a few twists. Before getting into that, the campaign deserves a bit more emphasis though. You see, while playing Adel as the protagonist feels the most fitting since this seems like just another run-of-the-mill adventure for him, and his traditional silence is mostly intact save for some dialogue options. Notably, this entire game is fully voice acted with an English dub, featuring several role reprisals. Hearing Chester with newly dubbed lines is something I never thought I would see or experience, and the E7 crew receiving fully voiced scenarios is equally surprising since the original game only had sparse combat grunts. Of the campaigns available, Geist was by far my favorite. Even with the stories being broadly similar, Geist is someone I have always wanted to see recur after his debut in E6. The light arc that he goes through in this campaign was a pleasant surprise from the perspective of a fan who has not seen him much in roughly 15 years. Further, for those unaware, this game actually marked the technical debut of Trell's crossbow protagonist, Lloyd Bannings, who is also a key figure in this crossover narrative. In that lens, his usage as an almost enigmatic achiever clicks as a hype-up for Trails from Zero. When it comes to gameplay, East vs. Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga is more consistent. Battles tend to involve two characters, sometimes more, duking it out with basic combos, charged attacks, evasions, guarding, and skills. When glancing at footage, the combat may seem pretty flimsy, but there's more depth than you might think. During fights, you have the equivalent to a stamina meter that presents constant guarding and dodging, alongside the returning flash guard mechanic from E7 that negates damage and imparts increased SP. This resource, also earned by performing these charge strikes, fuels skills, of which you can equip 4 simultaneously. These techniques are unique to each character and often tie into their original toolkits. The E7 cast boasts the same skills from that game, while the Trails in the Sky crew use arts and crafts. As someone highly familiar with E7, I found the returning characters feel right at home, and the new additions are integrated remarkably well. They all control as you would expect, and they don't feel out of place in the genre outside of their usual wheelhouse. Now, let's be honest, not all fans will click with this admittedly dated combat system, but for those endeared to it, its swiftness can feel splendid in action. Elevation also plays a surprisingly important role during combat. Jumping is significant, and the mini status effects can make or break matchups. Rather than being a pure action-based fighting game, East vs. Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga incorporates RPG elements including individual character levels and a shop. The shop gains new stock as you purchase items, creating a transparent and meaningful reward loop. Now, as for what the store contains, you can spend currency on new skills, skill upgrades, equipment enhancements, and a slew of accessories ranging from status effect prevention to raw stat increases. Playable stages, music tracks from other Falcom games, company-spanning illustrations, and opening movies from other titles can also be bought here. This continuous growth ties back into the story mode, where accessories and currency carry over between campaigns, allowing you to breeze through them if you want, though there are ways to keep things engaging. For instance, you can change the difficulty level to your liking. After you complete a route, you can replay it via the advanced or alternative modes, which raise the starting levels of opponents to 41 and 81. In addition to arcade mode, which contains back-to-back battles for all playable characters, and the multiplayer suite, there is no shortage of replay value for dedicated enthusiasts. It's also important to note that this release boasts rollback netcode support and cross-platform functionality, which is an astounding boost for longevity. Further, free mode returns and enables multiple avenues of customization. It's been expanded from the original PSP release to allow up to 4 local players and screen sharing and camera zooming accommodations depending on context. And to make matters more convenient, the online and LAN modes allow for up to 3 players of the same system, which provides flexibility across mixed local and network setups. Other notable factors include input remapping and numerous visual updates, such as stable 60 FPS, improved textures, refined draw distance, and more. As a set of port improvements, the team at Refint Games has shown an impressive debut. The only issue I encountered was the voice acting at the end, where Geist Stories wasn't playing, and that's about it. If you're a diehard East and Trails fan, and you have experience with specific entries referenced in this crossover, then East vs. Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga can be a lovely pastime. The broad gameplay customization, replayability, and strong new features for modern platforms can be captivating time sinks. However, the monotonous and uninspired storytelling with the thin character exchanges and also the disappointing playable lineup are considerable drawbacks that keep this title from appealing to a broader slice of the fanbase. In its barest essence, East vs. Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga is a messy yet nostalgic and heartfelt tribute to Falcom's 2010 legacy. Just make sure you're a fan before you play it. Noisy Pixel is giving East vs. Trails in the Sky Alternative Saga an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching. This video is brought to you by our supporters on Patreon. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers providing independent gaming coverage through news, reviews, previews, and more. Check out our Patreon to help support our continued growth, and subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.